Our final writer tonight is Reid. We're very excited to have her. Reading her poetry was a breath of fresh air for me. I want to thank Ray Zemer for sending her our way. She's been a part of the Chicago Slams scene for a long time. And I knew everyone at Waterline Wriiters would love to hear her poetry, especially her poems that are for or about writers and writing. She's the only one tonight at Waterline Wriiters without a book. I would just like to say, Chris, please publish these poems. Because really they read as well. You get a lot out of them just from reading them. So please welcome Reid.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I know I'm with my people because I also have been rejected by rattle poetry. So, yay! Yay for all of us. We're all rejects together. I've kind of brought a potpourri of stuff for you tonight, so there is no particular theme to this, but I hope that you find something for everyone here, I hope. This first poem is the product of an office discussion at our mutual coffee pot. I work with a bunch of science nerds, and one of them happened to mention in passing that coffee is a solution as opposed to an emulsion or a suspension. And I went back to my desk and I was thinking about, yeah, coffee is a solution, but it's like a solution to so many things. So, of course, that elongated itself into a poem, and this poem is called Java Jive. It is the morning's solution, pungent percussion in perk, drip, press. Caffeinated counterpart of commuter ritual or still life with jelly donut. Fruit of the fair trade harvest by bean-nurturing natives in shaded tropic climes. An aromatic mug to chug. Instiller of boardroom buzz, a kick in the old coffee clutch. The venti mocha frappuccino yuppie affectation. The apropos brew for two at speed dater's meeting ground. Standard internet accessory, sloshed in a million carafes and spilled on a million counters by a million servers named Joan. Some silty fuel to grind the gears of the third watch. Nightcap for nurses, place setting for nighthawks. Twice burnt midnight oil. When the hour looms late, it recedes to blackness, some barista's bitter dream. Unlike probably everybody else here, I suffer from a permanent case of writer's block. And I had pulled together probably all the suggestions that I could think of for things to get beyond it. And I brought it to Big Table Writers Group, which I was a member of for many years. And one of my friends there, Mary Durr, was a very gifted poet, and she is now in heaven watching us. Came up with the suggestion that the title should be Self-Help for Writer's Block. So thank you, Mary. I'm sure you're doing fabulous poems in your heavenly abode. Self-Help for Writer's Block. And by the way, these are all absolutely guaranteed to work, but you have to do all of them, and you have to do them all in this order. Pray to the spirit of poets long dead. Sleep with a lexicon next to your head. Fast from the dawn until dusk every day. Speed to the beach in your aunt's Chevrolet. Shorten your hair, dye the tufts blue and green. Dress in your costume from last Halloween. Download the lyrics to Cotton Eye Joe. Fashion an igloo from styrofoam snow. Whittle a whistle to summon the maid. String up a hammock to loll in the shade. Donate $1 to indigent mimes. Learn how to juggle with oranges or limes. Submerge your brain cells in growlers of beers. Lip sync the top hits of Britney Spears. Toss your old sneakers on telephone wires. Text on your phone till it catches on fire. Practice a yodel like Austrians do. Leer at the llamas at home in the zoo. Bury your pencil stubs under a tree. Find inspiration in reruns of Glee. Dance in your drawers underneath the full moon. Believe that maybe you'll write again soon. 2014, I made a decision to change my life by becoming a licensed foster parent. And when I shared this news with my greater circle of family and friends, I was kind of surprised by the response that I got, because I was kind of thinking I would get a mixed bag, and almost overwhelmingly, people were trying to talk me out of it. I was very surprised by that, because I didn't think people would have such fervid feelings about it. But as a poet, you take this and you mold it into something poetical. So this is called Real Shit People Said to Me on Learning I Took a Teen Foster Child. Are you crazy? You could have had a puppy instead. You're too old to be a foster parent. Won't this kid kill you when you sleep? Don't ever leave them alone in your house. The animal shelters are full of puppies needing homes. The police are going to be at your place all the time. You can't trust a foster child. Don't you toss them out when they turn 18? Aren't you afraid you'll be raped? What if they crash your car? Did you lock up all your valuables? Wait until they start throwing wild parties. Why don't you just get a puppy? What if you find kids having sex in your bed? I would never do that. At your age, you should be out enjoying your life. Their own parents should pay for them. You don't need to look after somebody else's kids. At least if you took a baby, they're easier to care for. Why would you surrender your freedom? My sister wanted to do that, but we talked her out of it. I bet you get a lot of money for doing that. This next poem was published in Midwest Review, and it won the first place for poetry from the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And the backstory on this is kind of unusual. When I was a teenager, I was introduced through family friends to a professor of linguistics. And this was a bazillion years ago, before computers. And he had invented an artificial language, which was supposedly based on principles of logic. And because he was a German origin, he was friends with the physicist Werner von Braun. And von Braun at that point was shooting radio waves into outer space to contact the little green men. And he was using this constructed language to do it, rather than using German or Russian or English. And this professor had his book with him, and I'm flipping through the book, and like all teenagers, I knew everything. So I get into an argument with this professor about I didn't see the correctness of his logic in constructing his language. And of course, the professor didn't agree with me. But I have never forgotten this, and that has morphed into this poem, Superseding Professor Weilgart. I will create a new language, melding the modern idiom with relics of ancient human art. It's the perfect solution to the task of depicting my rebel logic. I should have thought of it long ago. I will create a new language, a pleasant one, but not too beautiful, with context that tease at meaning, and diphthongs deconstructed from Indo-European roots and dabbled Semitic tongues. I will create a new language, bypassing conventional thinking. Use of numerals will be optional. Rather, I will employ mystic invocations to name all colors with a whisper, letting the rainbow breathe at last. I will create a new language. Acolytes faithful to my blog will disseminate the vocabulary. Over time, it will wear easy as leather gloves, yet still be formal enough for acts of parliament. I will create a new language. When broadcast to the galaxies, the syllables will shatter into dust. Inhabitants of other worlds will sift through the afterglow, gleaning symbols they understand. I will create a new language. It will be a lifelong undertaking. As sleep is sacrificed to syntax, each diffident parsing will yield a reward. It will make paper shudder to receive the weight of every word. While I have been rejected by rattle poetry, and I haven't forgiven them, at some point they are going to get a bag of flaming dog poop on their porch, if I can find it. I have been in Rhino, so that's something for poetry nerds to brag about. This next poem did win a Contemporary American Poetry Prize in 2011, and do not be taken in by the fact that the title is This Is Not a Sonnet, because poets will know that this is a sonnet, a very traditional sonnet. It just doesn't rhyme. This is not a sonnet. On the day I disappeared, I came home to find all the furniture was gone. I walked through the apartment, which echoed my footsteps too loudly, and wondered where my husband was, or with whom. I thought about the codas of tired foreign films as I sifted through the dumpster, unearthing floral receipts for gifts he'd sent as something on the side. Then fireworks went off silently behind my eyes. I got sick from the stench, and I crumpled down to my knees on the dirty asphalt. I slept in my jacket on the bathroom floor that night because the curtains had been taken too. I don't remember where I was when I was reading an article, but it had to do with computer science and computer nerds in particular. And they described this one particularly nerdy guy as an uberwonk. And I was kind of like chewing on that phraseology for a while because it sounded to me so much like jabberwock. And the whole nonsense syllables of jabberwocky kind of also reminded me of computer stuff, and I don't know anything about computers because it's not my era. But somehow that became this poem, which appeared in Rhyme and Punishment, which was published out of New York City somewhere. Uberwonky. 'Twas body, and the beta keys did ping and pixel in the node. All kerning were the binaries, and the QWERTYs in code. Beware the uberwonk, my pet, the gigabytes, you'll be a nosh. Beware the spoofing shift, and fret the moodling Macintosh. She took her GPS and fled. Throughout the Ethernet she sought. A while the Excel spread she read, and paused to rest in thought. And as in dweebish thought she stood, the uberwonk, true to his name, came nerdling through the lossy wood, and Googled as he came. He sent a tweet that she found sweet. Their user files got interfaced. She left refreshed, her hair a mess, to bounce in cyberspace. And did you boff the uberwonk? Give me details, you tardy lass. You trashed his drive. He's still alive. You grappled his badunkadunk. 'Twas body, and the beta keys did ping and pixel in the node. All kerning were the binaries, and the QWERTYs in code. I have a teenage son, and he listens to a lot of rap music. And of course, I don't really get it because it's not my era. But I felt as a writer that I personally am entitled to my own rap. And as writers, I think we all are. So this is writer's rap. I got the right stuff. My groove is MacBook Pro, wireless flow, spell check, autocorrect, storage in the cloud, iTunes crank loud. I got the right stuff. I got tomes by my bro Roger and his homeboy, Webster D. And I'm not afraid to use them and flex my graduate degrees. I got the right stuff. I will make burst scan just to show I can. Toss in a bon mot, let everybody know French class back in '68 was no waste. In fact, c'est magnifique, I got the right stuff. So I'll slant my rhymes and jam my lines and drop the Oxford comma, because it makes my poems pop. You see, I got the right stuff.